You're listening to the No BS Bishop podcast. We're alive to love, and all other values are potential BS. Now here's your host, Bishop Randy Dean.
Welcome to you all. Bishop Randy Dean here with you for today's podcast of the No BS Bishop. I'm alive to love. I believe all lesser values than love devolve easily into BS. BS for me is bait and switch, but you may have other ideas what it means, and I'm perfectly comfortable with what else you may think it is, because whatever the case is, if it isn't love, it isn't a practical reality for how to live our lives. Then we start baiting and switching and BSing in other ways. My goal in life, my treasury of heart and mind is to just raise the alarm, if you will, to raise one voice amongst millions, and to call people to the reality and the power of love. So I've got a lot on my heart. Not sure I can adequately title this or adequately give you a statement, one sentence statement, but let me just tell you that love is the only answer. But medieval talk about love does nothing. That's a quote from Thomas Merton, and I'll tell you more about him later. Love is the only answer, but ancient discussions of love they don't cut it anymore, folks. That's me talking from that quote from Thomas Merton. So we'll get there. So in order to get there, though, my habit, my liturgy here, if you will, is to lead you into a couple of things to get us started, and then close with a couple of other things to help close off all these passionate fireballs that are burning in my heart. So I start with the Lord's Prayer, which we'll do in just a moment, and then I'll follow that with Love's Creed today. Love's Creed is something I wrote as a New Year's resolution, and by the way, we're coming up on the final days of 2025, so this might be your New Year's resolution. Think about it. This is all-encompassing, I think, this Love's Creed that I'll lead you in, then I'll ask you to repeat after me like a vow at a wedding altar, okay? So here it is, Love's Creed in total, and then we'll repeat together. Here we go. I'm alive to love. I am not on this earth for hate. I'm alive for love. I'm not breathing, eating, and sleeping to regain energy for causing pain. I am alive with plans, dreams, and designs locked into anything and everything that is love. I am unavailable for anything less than love. All right, there's Love's Creed in total. Now I want to invite you, repeat after me if you're so inclined. If you want a copy of this, you can email me at randydeanministries@gmail. Randy Dean Ministries, all one word, all lowercase, @gmail. I'd be happy to send you a copy, free of charge, no BS, no bait and switch. Just let me know what you think and what you would like of this in a copy. My pleasure to send it to you. Here we go. Repeat after me. I'm alive to love. I am not on this earth for hate. I'm alive for love. I'm not breathing, eating and sleeping to regain energy for causing pain. I am alive with plans, dreams, and designs locked into anything and everything that is love. I am unavailable for anything less than love. All right, there you have it, Love's Creed. Typically, I start with the Lord's Prayer and then go to Love's Creed, but today I feel the need to capture my own self in the power of the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer is, as you hear me say here often, the most prayed prayer in human history. It is the meditation, the contemplation of the heart and the mind of Jesus when he was asked, how should we pray? And he gave this marvelous, this Grand Canyon, Alps, mountain view of how to pray in just a paragraph. All right? If you know it, join me, and if you don't, just listen in and find in these words that are from the wise mind of Christ. Find in them the power of living by prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Life caught in a prayer. Is it possible? I believe it is. And Jesus gave us those words. Well, today I told you at the start here, my theme is best stated through a quote from Thomas Merton. He's a Trappist monk, a Catholic of another era. He passed away, I believe it was in the late 60s, but a genius theologian, but more than that, a genius spiritual mystic. And his words echo through the decades, through scores of many other monks and theologians. But here's the quote from Thomas Merton that I'm going to take a stab at offering to you some thoughts that are really pertinent for me today. He said this: "Love is the only answer, but medieval talk about love does nothing. What does love mean today? What is its place in the enormous dimensions of the modern world? We have to love in a new way and with a new attitude. And I suppose perhaps the first thing to do is to admit that I do not know the meaning of love in any context, ancient or new." Now, right there in that last sentence, listen to that again. I suppose perhaps the first thing to do is to admit that I do not know the meaning of love in any context, ancient or new. I want you to hear me say, I agree with that, and I'm living in a parallel understanding of what he just said. I live, I would say daily on some level, as I live life as it is. Life is a beast. Life is tough. But I know that love is my creed. That's why we had Love's Creed a moment ago. But in the face of Love's Creed and in the face of the reality of life, I want to admit to you that I'm still reaching for the meaning of love in any context that I can reach for, ancient or new. And I just think that's the purpose of life, is to reach for the beauty, the power, the mountain climb, the marathon, no sprint, but this long-term journaling, walking out of love. I'm trying not to be too repetitive of things I say. I want to make sure I give this to you in as fresh a means as I feel it in my heart today. And to that end, I want to ask you to do a couple of things with me. I'm going to ask you to bear with me and do a few little simple tasks. I want you to join me in that last sentence of Thomas Merton's quote when he said, "Perhaps the first thing to do is admit that I do not know the meaning of love in any context, ancient or new." Join me in agreeing with that, if you will. Trust me, there's an exercise going on here, and I want you to say to yourself, or even if you have emotion, I'm here alone in the studio, and I'm moving traffic with my hands as I speak. I talk with my hands and my body, so I can feel my feet are moving around nervously, my hands are waving around, and there's nobody here but me and the computer and a microphone. So if you need to move around and join me, hey, join my insanity. I welcome you to my world. Now, I want you to take your understanding of love and pretend that it's an object, size of a brick or a 5-pound bag of sugar. And I want you to take it, and I want you to put the word love on that. And with one hand, take that package that's called love, and it's your comprehension, experience of love, and just put it on some metaphorical, symbolic shelf, just for a moment. Put it there and let go of your current preoccupation, definition, however good it may be, or however shallow it may be. Put it on a shelf and leave it there for just a minute. Put love that you feel you know, put it over there on a shelf. And join me in saying, okay, I need to ask myself, what does love mean for me today, this moment? Not what ancient, old history, some dusty book on a shelf that I have to blow the dust off because I haven't read it in a long time, but the reality of what does love mean for me today. Now I want you to, with the other hand, not the hand you put love on the shelf with, but with your other hand, I want you to open up empty. And in your empty hand, I want you to imagine, if you will, imagine a comprehension of love coming to you that's deeper, wider, higher, more strong, more significant, more beautiful, more majestic than you've ever had before. And then imagine that it's coming to you not for the grand specter of life, but for the grand adventure that is today. Today. What does love mean today? What does love mean today? Not what I've got on the shelf with one hand that I put it over here, but now with my empty hand, what will love mean for me today? Now, it's important for all of us, I believe. That's why I'm here. That's why I've been here for 6-7 years. I don't even, off the top of my head right now, I know I could look at a calendar and tell you exactly. That's maybe 7 years. I've been teaching, preaching, broadcasting, now podcasting about love. I just simply know that ancient, dusty rituals of love will not carry us through the days that are ahead of us. And I don't mean this in any kind of crisis mode. I mean just to live life in this 21st century that is wild and woolly. Life's a beast. Life shoves and pushes you around. Lightning strikes here and there. Most of life is quiet and serene, and yet life is unpredictable. And if we're going to live this life on any level that is meaningful, not only to others, but meaningful for our own self, meaningful to you, meaningful to me. When I put my head down on the pillow at night, I want to know that I can evaluate my actions based on love's creed, for instance. Was I that person? Did I love that way today? And to be perfectly honest and authentic and vulnerable with you, I can tell you when I lay my head on the pillow at night that I have complaints with myself. I didn't love there. I could have and might have been better suited for the day if I had loved in this way or that. I evaluate that. In the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, we're invited to take a fearless and searching moral inventory of our lives. That's the basis of recovery. And that's not just for drug addicts and alcoholics. This is for stone sober people. Because frankly, I know stone sober people who have alcoholic behaviors towering in their life. And I know I believe this, but I don't know I can convince you. But I don't know anybody that wouldn't benefit from practicing. And I don't mean just reading the 12 steps of AA. I mean practicing those 12 steps. Living out something like a searching and fearless moral inventory. Not to blame and beat yourself up, not to critique yourself down into a hole. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about having an evaluation, just to walk through your personal resume and ask yourself hard questions. Likely, you don't have anybody in your life. I do. My wife is perfectly suited to me, and I hope to say that she would tell you the same about me to her, that we can walk ourselves through difficult evaluations. But the most difficult evaluation we face is our own. And I want you to evaluate your management, your understanding, your grasp, your goals, your desires, your dreams for love. How do you dream love in your life? How do you dream it to be? Remember, we've got the old ways of love on a shelf on one side. I'm asking you now to hold your other hand out with emptiness, to put in that hand new comprehensions, new desires, and if you will, new New Year's resolutions, new goals going forward to love. Jesus said we're to love our neighbor as ourselves. So I'm quick to say, love yourself. Love yourself well. Love yourself deep. Love yourself wide. Not in a self-affirming, blind way that says everything I do is perfect. No. That's not self-love. Self-love is being kind to yourself when life isn't kind to you. Let me quickly tell you a very fast story of recent days. Last week in my life, we're in the 4th week of Advent now, but last week was a beast. We had an unexpected, terrible accident in our extended family that touched so many lives, not the least of which was my life and Ginger's. And it was heartbreaking, heart-wrenching. So I had a long week, and I had a long week at a part-time job I work at a hospital. And at the end of the week, I was just looking forward to Friday. I was ready to just be done for the week. I was tired. Mentally, physically, I was exhausted. So I gathered my stuff, and I headed out the door, drove to the other side of town, and I started patting my pockets, and I realized, oh, gosh, I forgot my phone back at the hospital. Turn around, drive across town, where I want to go back. I don't want to go back because I just want to be done with the week. And I get my phone. All right. Okay. One of my coworkers is laughing and saying, boy, you are just that. You just had your plate full, haven't you? And I said, yes, I have. Goodbye and happy weekend. And off I took, and I just drove down the road, happy-go-lucky. And then I realized, excuse me, I have a new set of hearing aids. And that would take a whole nother No BS Bishop Alive to Love discussion with you. But I have a new set of hearing aids, and I have a little charger that I put my hearing aids in. And in my hearing aids, as I was driving across town, leaving work, my hearing aids started to wane battery-wise, which is not unusual for after 8 hours being in my ears. And my hearing aids were telling me battery low. So I patted my pockets. You know where I'm going? I forgot my hearing aid charger back in my desk at the hospital. So I had to turn around, second time now, turn around, go back across town. Now, the reason I'm telling you this story is I blurted out, in the car alone, I blurted out a blue streak cussing myself. I called myself names I would never call another human being. You can trust me on this. I can be short-tempered, but I have never chewed out anybody like I chewed myself out in that moment turning the car around. I blistered myself verbally. And after I couldn't have been more than 20 seconds, I realized, oh, Randy, what are you doing? Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. Well, I was loving myself in a pretty pathetic way. No mercy, no grace, no patience, nothing but just radical, raw, bloody criticism of, I won't even describe it because I'd have to go into detail, and I can't do that in this recording. So my point is this. With a new comprehension of love, how would you love yourself better, more wisely, more deeply, more profoundly? How could you lead yourself toward a love for your neighbor that is more beautiful and expressive and simple? It doesn't have to be elaborate. In fact, I think sometimes we believe that loving has to be these long lists of elaborate actions, and it may be, but for the most part, love is a daily, silent meditation. How to arrest your life with love. How to arrest your view of the world with love. Here's what I believe. In the absence of love, we become reckless. And I mean absence on any level, whether it's small or great. When love is not present, we get reckless. Because love is a guardian of our inner world, a guardian of our mental life, a guardian of our soul. And when we have aberrant views of love, and that's why I'm asking you, put that definition of love from the past on a shelf, because all of us, myself included, we have aberrant versions of love. The word aberrant means less than correct, less than perfect. There's aberrations of love that we've lived with, that we've been told, well, I only tease you because I love you. Well, see, that's an aberration. That's not a healthy view of love. And when we have aberrations of love at any level in our life, we act out in abnormal ways. It's just how it works. But here's what I want you to hear, and I've written this sentence down carefully. In the fully transcendent supremacy of God's love, we are free to fully become the human being we were created to be. When that transcendent supremacy, this outside of all my machinations, my imaginations, all outside of all my definitions, when I lay myself down like I would put myself in an X-ray machine or an MRI, when I put myself before the transcendent, radiant supremacy of God's love, I am being healed and washed of the aberrations and the brokenness of how I've defined love, and even just the inadequate definitions of love that are on the shelf. Remember our shelf where we put love for a moment? If I'm allowing myself the true expression of love in me, I've got to be fully exposed, as often as I know how, to the grandiosity, the majesty, the overwhelming love of God hitting me, washing me, lifting me, holding me. I know that, and I've had this experience, I know that there are songs I can sing that carry me toward the love of God. I know there are hymns that I can sing that make my heart just sail toward the love of God. And as good as they are, and they are good, I want to suggest to you that what I'm talking about here is bigger than a song. It's mightier than a hymn. It's you for the incredible, universe-sized, mountain-moving love of God being hit in a solitary way with some solitude going on, and let the love of God come to you. We're in the Advent season, coming close now, as just any day we're going to hit Christmas. But in Advent, one of the things I tell people to do is celebrate the silence. Celebrate the quietness. My old childhood comic book hero, Superman, in the wisdom of his parents that sent him to Earth from Krypton, he had the blueprints for the solitude, the fortress of solitude. Somewhere in the North Pole, or I guess it was North Pole, he built a fortress of solitude. Even as a kid, when I'd read those comic book stories of him flying off to the fortress of solitude, it struck me as such a beautiful way to live. How could I have a fortress of solitude? So I created some of my own little fortresses of solitude as a kid. Nothing near Superman's fortress, but they were Randy's. I would propose to you that no matter how good a song may be to lift you to the love of God, a hymn may be that just inspires you, as good as that may be, I would inspire you now to be a person of some fortress of solitude and quiet. And in the long nights of winter solstice, in the long night of Advent, find some quietness and open yourself to the grand majesty of God's love. Because as much as we may have had love in that little package on a shelf that was yesterday's love, and as much as our empty hand is reaching for a new definition, a new way to love, and may I suggest a new way to love in 2026. As much as those things are true, somehow mystically, spiritually, beautifully, powerfully, magnificently, come to God to be loved. Put away all the hard, hating views, judging, shaming views of God, and embrace a whole new vista of God is love. Love is God. And those who dwell in love dwell in God. Come join me, please. Let's go dwell in God. Let's go dwell in love. That probably won't be done in a cathedral or a church service or a revival. It'll probably be done most significantly all alone in your fortress of solitude. Carry yourself toward this radiance called love. And may the radiance of love captivate you now. All right, let me bring this in for a close and urge you to join me in breathing, would you please? On the count of 3, take a deep breath of inhale love and hold it inside and let it radiate through your being. Hold that breath deep inside. 1, 2, 3. Inhale. Hold it. Exhale fear. That could be a miniature fortress of solitude. Second thing I want you to do with me as an exercise closing today is to practice saying these mighty, holy, magical, charmed, and even startling words. Say them with intention and with eye contact to somebody. I love you. That's hard. I know it firsthand, and I've been the guy teaching people to say it for years now, and it's still hard for me. So say it if you can. Practice with your cat or your dog or in the mirror. There's a challenge. With eye contact and complete attention. I love you. So with that old version of love on the shelf and your new open hand, I want you to let that old version of love just be stored there and open both hands to receive as much new comprehension of love as you can even imagine, maybe beyond your imagination. And join me today in knowing the biggest mistake we make is thinking we have time. Be present. Be kind. Love more. Love now. Mother Teresa said, go into the world today and love the people you meet. Let your presence light new light in the hearts of others. And I'm the No BS Bishop Randy Dean, and I want to say to you, let's rise and shine and go do something beautiful. Ugly is getting done to death, and aren't we all just so tired of that? Let's raise a new vista of something beautiful, rising and shining in the glorious majesty of the power of love. It's a joy for me to bring you these broadcasts and podcasts. I hope you'll feel free to share them with your friends and family. And please, please, please know, I love you. God bless you and happy trails.
Thanks for listening to the No BS Bishop podcast. If you like the show, leave a comment on it. Or, even better, share it with your friends. And we'll see you on the next one.